see you guys in the dark.
My partner and I, get a radio call of a welfare check to check on the welfare of a person. Ex-boyfriend called because he received text from his ex stating that she wished it would not have ended and that she would no longer go on without him. We get to the place, knock, pound, stuff like that. There's no answer. We call. Ex provided the number. We get an answer and a hang up. So we hear it from the outside window and know that she is in there. We say we are going to break down the door if she doesn't answer us. We hear some slurred mess of speech. Door unlocks, but it doesn't open. We open up the door to find a young woman, wet, naked, pale as hell, and swaying in one spot. Her hands are bleeding. Call a rescue ambulance, and she is off to the hospital. Now to the creepy part. None of the lights would turn on, so we conduct a safety search and find candles lit in the bedroom and the bathroom. On the walls were Bible scriptures written in her blood, and a ton of brown water. The water was mixed with old blood. I don't know how she survived, because that water was dark. She had been sitting in it for approximately 3 or 4 hours. Everyone knows why we all became cops. Drive fast and shoot shit, right? Well, that's not the real story, at least for all the cops that I know. But I'd be lying if I said driving fast wasn't fun at all. When a hot call comes out, we all want to be there first to help and do what we can to catch a bad guy. But once you're on scene, you often spend the next several hours maintaining the crime scene for detectives, if it's a homicide or serious shooting. Where I work, the vast majority of our homicides are gang and drug related. Even if it's officially, we don't label them gang related. Makes the city look pretty bad. The movies and TV shows that depict cops overcome with emotion at the sight of a shooting victim are largely fictitious. I've been on dozens of homicides, and have yet to see any officer cry, or even be really concerned honestly. It's harsh out there. Generally, these victims are a result of their lifestyle choices to be in a gang, or other criminal enterprise, and we consider it the cost of doing business. It's not that we're shallow. We just can't get emotional because someone was a gang member who robbed people, and they got taken out by a rival. Crime scene management is a serious and difficult job, though. Family and friends often want to see the victim. We try to be compassionate to these people. It's not their fault that their son sold drugs or robbed people, but sometimes we've got to be hard with them and threaten to arrest them if they keep trying to cross the barrier. It doesn't make them like us, but ensures the sanctity of the evidence and helps us to try and find a suspect and successfully arrest them. My old roommate's dad was a former naval officer and then an FBI agent. 20 years in the Navy and 12 to 15 years or so in the FBI. One of his strangest stories was from his FBI days. I'll paraphrase it below. A kidnapping case. This girl disappeared from her grandparents' RV sometime between 5 p.m. and midnight. They were up front. Next thing they know, she's gone. She was supposed to be sleeping in the back. One stop at a rest stop, and they were in stop-and-go traffic, so they figured that she must have popped out of the door at some point. This is near the California-Nevada border. So we meet them, talk to them. This is within about a day or so, and the girl's still missing. There's no sign of her. She happens to be 15. Local PD theory is she ran off because she's 15 and wants to get away from her lame grandparents for the summer. But there's a busted window, glass inside the vehicle. So we're treating it like a possible kidnapped person. After a few hours, there's a couple different theories on the case. One is that she ran off, another that she got snatched. Nobody's seen the girl in almost 2 days now, and disappearing in the desert for a young girl is tough. Next thing you know, we get a phone call. Naked girl, lost and confused, picked up by some trucker on a 2-lane road out there called Nipton. Runs into I-15 between Barstow and Vegas somewhere. Right near the border. Matches the description. Me and the 3 other guys head out there to meet with the sheriff who's got her. Turns out she's the girl. She's just fine. No rape, no bruises, no exposure, nothing. Completely healthy, completely fine. Even cleaned like she took a shower. Won't tell us a single thing. She doesn't remember a damn thing either. According to her, one moment she's in the RV, The next, she's naked walking down the side of the road in 100-degree heat. We talked to her for 2 hours while the grandparents headed out to go pick her up. We had our social services lady talk to her. There was nothing. I've seen people hiding things. She definitely wasn't hiding anything. She honestly didn't remember. Damnedest thing, anyway. The girl was found. She was fine. So we turned it back over to the local PD to figure out what happened and determine if charges were pressed and all. I kept in touch with a guy I knew there because I was curious, and we were in a fantasy football league. A few months later, he tells me the parents sent the girl to a therapist to look for repressed memories, to make sure that she wasn't raped or something. Therapist says that she seems pretty fine, but honestly has no recollection of her time at all, and doesn't think that there's any point to delving much further, since she has no symptoms and is largely more confused by the reaction than the event. So to this day, we've got a busted RV window with glass on the inside, likely from a moving RV on a jam-packed freeway, likely in broad or lightly fading sunlight, with 0 witnesses. A 15-year-old girl gets out, or is taken out, and is taken somewhere safe nearby for almost 2 days, then is stripped naked without being touched sexually, cleaned up, and deposited on the side of the road separate a few miles away. She didn't have a drug in her system that we could detect. She remembers nothing at all. Nobody knows what happens to her clothing or anything else. It's been almost 20 years since this has happened, and I can't figure out what the hell went on with that girl. Still bugs me at night that I have no way to explain it aside from she lied the whole time. But I know liars, and I'd bet money that she wasn't lying to us at all. This one time I went out on a call of a suspicious person at a house near where I was at. When I got there, the guy tells me that someone knocked on his door, and he went to go see who it was. There was a woman standing in his driveway with some sort of child-sized doll with horns, and it looked all bloody and cut up. So he asked the woman who was looking away from him what she wanted. She turned around and told him that it needs food, then started screaming at the top of her lungs, and then ran at him. Like a normal human being, he slammed the door in her face, and then called the cops. I get there, and there are well-defined claw marks on his door. There's also a good bit of blood. I suppose it was from her fingers. So I called it out, and start the search on foot. I also had 2 or 3 units driving around the area to see if they can't find this woman. So I'm about a block away. We get another call that the woman is back at the guy's house, but in the backyard this time. So I run about a block back to the guy's house and bust into his backyard. The lights are out, so I have my flashlight out, and I'm looking around. I see the chick huddled in the corner next to a fucking evil-looking doll thing, and I ask her if she's okay. She doesn't say anything to me. About this time, one of the mobile units came back to the house, parked his unit where the headlights were shining on her, so that we could see how scary this chick looked. She had long black hair. Her clothes were ragged. She had no shoes. Clearly she was homeless. And she kept whispering things to the doll. So my buddy and I approached and tried talking to her. She just kept on whispering to the doll. I couldn't understand what the hell she was saying, so we decided to drag her out of there. The second that we put hands on this woman, she went berserk, punching, kicking, slapping, all kinds of shit. So we're fighting with her, trying to get her on the ground. She's not going down at all. This woman was strong as hell. While in the fight, she somehow got away from us, and was sitting in a crouched position with her head tilted to the side, and making the creepiest growl, snarling sound that I have ever heard. Then she screamed at the top of her lungs, and charged right at us. So my buddy straight jabbed her in the face, knocked her clean out. We cuffed her and hauled her off to the hospital where she tested positive for PCP and various opiates. She was charged with battery of a police officer, resisting arrest, and trespassing. Later, she was institutionalized for some sort of mental disorder. Not quite sure what it was. My department didn't have anything more to do with her after her booking into the jail cell.
If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe, like, and hit the bell for notifications on future videos, and become a stalker of the night. And I'll see you next time.